Hello, and welcome back to their Dokkan Battle video. So last night we got this little teaser here for the next Dokkan Fest, and me personally, my immediate thought was Hell Zone Piccolo. So thinking of that, I decided to do one of my favorite activities, which is making a concept card, which I have done here for a tag Piccolo in 17. Now I did this specifically because I really want the scene where they are like going at each other, right, where they're not only throwing each other but they're punching each other in the gut back and forth. It's really cool, but I didn't know how to include that while also showed my desktop for a second. I didn't know how to include that while showing the Hell Zone as well in that. So I made Piccolo's super attack be to imagine it would start with like the 17 gut punch into like one of his flying, like one of the big kicks that Piccolo does, and then it would end with the Hell Zone, right? Just imagine it like that. But let's go ahead and talk about this concept real quick. Obviously, this is a tag Piccolo and 17. I didn't list all their categories. I probably should have, but they are on an absolutely stupid amount of teams. I can bring both characters up so we can look at it real quick, but they would be on a stupid amount of teams. So anyway, here's the leader skill I went with. Bond Master Disciple, Worthy Rivals, or Android. Category key +3, HP +200%, and attacking defense +170, plus initial HP attacking defense 50% for characters who also belong to the Android Cell Saga, Gifted Warriors, or Sibling Bond category. Now, this is what that team looks like. Again, I feel like this is a very Dokkan-esque like leader skill, where like there is good units in here, but there's also kind of like some pointless stuff like the Gifted Warriors 200%, right? Doesn't really help out too much. It mainly is just for like Piccolos that get that. So it's like one of those things where I feel like this is something I could very easily see Dokkan doing as like a team, because obviously Piccolo has Earthbred fighters. You can just use that as as part of the leader, but it's not something that I expect them to do, is to make the team amazing, right? These are the two characters, right? They have a ton of teams. Obviously, you could do Earthbred fighters, successors, that kind of thing. Like, there's so many good teams in here, but I just don't see them picking exclusively the good ones. They're gonna throw in a couple of the mediocre ones, like Heavenly Events, Entrusted Will, Gifted Warriors. They're gonna do that kind of thing, right? And then for 17, he doesn't really add a whole lot here. And he would add in basically all 6 of these categories, which is why I kind of gave him the Sibling Bond and then the Androids, right? Because you can do that with tags leader skills. Just think about the Golden Frieza and Gogeta, right? Their leader skill is Movie Boss, Movie Hero. This character has 2 Piccolo leaders and a Android 17 leader skill. And then Android 17 is committing the Sibling Bond aspect to the 220, and Piccolo is giving us the Gifted Warriors, and they're both bringing Android Cell Saga, right? So they get 1 each, and then 1 shared one for the 220. I think it just works out pretty well. You got some really decent hard hitters in here, right? Daima Piccolo, I think, is really strong. People have been getting a lot of use of AGL Cell recently, right? You have this character right here, because this would be a super class unit. You can actually make use out of them. The 10th anniversary LRs are still pretty solid, right? You got to get some solid options in here. Nothing crazy, but it is solid. You'd also be able to use this Manga Gohan to his full power, which is really cool. So there's that. Piccolo's super attack here is the Hell Zone Rush, which is what I described earlier. He gives himself 100% attack and 30% defense for 1 turn, causes immense damage, and then recovers 10% HP, right? Pretty solid. The main goal here for Piccolo, I wanted him to be the more offensive side while still being tanky in his own right, while also doing a lot of healing for something that's in Android 17's kit, right? So he has an active, a passive that activates an entrance animation. This would be when he comes down to fight 17 and like powers up, right? So I guess you could theoretically get them on transformation boost because of that, because that's when he does take off of the gi, right? Kind of think of like physical Piccolo, right? Right here. Right, where this like animation here where he goes from Piccolo with the coat to Piccolo without the coat. It pretty much just gives him, I think, fused fighters is what it gives him actually. So I mean it's something to help out Piccolo a little bit on his teams. And then he gets 20% damage reduction and 200% attack for 4 turns. This is really good for GDC fights, where you can make a lot of use out of that. His basic effects are pretty simple here. He just gets key +3, attacking defense 200%, 40% damage reduction, and launches an additional attack that has a great chance of becoming a super attack. Nothing crazy, but very solid for something later on in his kit. When attacking with 12 or more key, Piccolo is then going to get an additional attack and defense 150%, and then he's going to be super effective against all types. If he is in the first or second attacker in the turn, he's going to get an additional 150% attack and defense when receiving or evading an attack. This is mainly for like if he's in slot 1, right? He's obviously not going to be able to use the attack, but it's mainly in case he's in slot 1. In slot 2, he's still going to get the big defense, right? If he's in as the third attacker in the turn, he gets 50% attack or 50% chance of evading attack. And then he's giving all allies key plus 3 attack and defense 40%, and then an additional 20% for 2 turns to characters who belong to the Bond of Master and Disciple or Android/Cell Saga categories. Right? I think that's pretty solid. It's going to help him out a lot. If anything, I imagine this, right? This part of his passive to work like Super Boo does, where it's for his next attack and not just within the turn, right? Think of it very much exactly like Super Boo. So all this passive right here, this would carry over to a turn if you have him in slot 2, right? I don't remember exactly how Super Boo's worded with it. I can probably look it up real quick. He's on Heavily Events, right? Because he leads it, right? Where is it? Yeah, yeah, this. Temporarily upon the character's next attack. I should probably put that in there. All right, so imagine that this is until... Well, yeah. No. Yeah, y'all get what it means. Okay. So, and then the big part of his kit here, I liked the way a lot of the manga characters had this stuff in here. Obviously, you have to kind of tone it down a little bit because these units are going to have a lot higher stats than the manga units. But Piccolo is going to get 15% attack, defense, and crit for every super attack he performs. He can do up to 4 in a turn, so that's going to stack up pretty quickly for him. And then he's going to have the 60% damage reduction. It's going to help him out a lot to make him just kind of like function as both like a GDC character and a... like a Festival of Battles character. He's going to be able to do both pretty effectively, I think. And then we have when there's an Android/Cell Saga ally on the team, or when there's an enemy whose name includes Cell Jr., and Cell Max excluded from the 3rd turn from the start of battle, or starting from the 5th turn from the start of battle. This allows you to do his active skill, right? And exchange. Right, so these are the same condition pretty much. Actually, this should be down here. Right, this should be right here. Right, this is what triggers his exchange effect. He is going to heal 50% of his HP, and then he's going to meet up with Android 17. Right. Then Piccolo. Now there's the kind of like crazier part, because this heal is going to automatically pop right on either your. It can start immediately. I should probably do from the 3rd turn. So all this is from the 3rd turn. So on turn 3, you're going to heal and meet up with 17, or on turn 5, you're going to heal and meet up with 17. And then with his active skill, this can be activated when the entire rotation is Android/Cell Saga, or starting from the 4th turn from the start of battle, which is going to make Piccolo do a significantly large chunk of damage, and it's going to make him recover 5% of HP as damage dealt, and he's going to guard for 3 turns. So you could theoretically get this off on turn 1. That would give him a stack of his passive here, right, as well as giving him guard. So he's going to have 60% damage reduction and guard for the turn, which is pretty crazy, right? And he's going to always be able to do this while he at least has some of this active. No matter what, he will be able to do that. So that's pretty good for him. And that's pretty much all for Piccolo. Going into 17 here, this is after you tag out of Piccolo. He's going to give himself 50% defense and 30% attack for 1 turn, cause immense damage to the enemy, and lower attack, which is pretty solid. His passive skill, his basic effects here, he can exchange with Piccolo. He has 3 key 250% attack and defense at the start of turn, a 50% chance to dodge. Before he gets hit within a turn, he is going to... and attack. I don't know, typos. He's going to have 50% damage reduction, so up until he gets hit for the first time, he's going to have that massive 50% damage reduction. It's not super crazy, but with the fact that both Piccolo and 17 have a stacking ability, it is going to compound pretty nicely in the event that he does get hit right away. When receiving or evading an attack, 17 is going to get 250% attack and defense. He's going to get give allies 2 key and 17% attack and defense for 2 turns. He's going to have a high chance of performing a crit, and he's going to get 70% dodge. So these two effects here are gonna like stack into themselves within the turn. So he's gonna basically function like UI Goku, right? The more he dodges, the more dodge he's going to have, and then he's gonna build up to 100% chance to crit. And then when his HP is 50% above at the start of the turn, which is helpful because, you know, the second you can go into 17, you're going to recover 50% HP. So you're always going to be able to have this up when when it's his first turn out. He's going to get attacking defense 150% at the start of turn. He's going to get an additional super attack, and then he's going to give himself an additional 20% chance to dodge, giving him a baseline of 70% dodge, and then the 7% dodge per dodge he does. Then you have this ability here, which in the fight against Piccolo, 17 almost exclusively takes damage from like Piccolo punching and kicking him. He does not take damage almost at all from any of Piccolo's Hell Zone, right? He blocks both versions of the Hell Zone completely. He nullifies it completely. And this is even a weaker effect to the old tech androids. So this is weaker than what the tech androids had way back when. It's still a really good effect, especially for like the Goku Black and Zamasu fight. He's going to be invincible, but like he is not going to be able to do this unless you're above 50% HP, which for the most part you're probably going to be at. So he's going to have this up. Remember, the tech androids, theirs is 35% or above. Now I could have raised this to like 60%, 70%. I just feel like it doesn't really matter when we have a character who's older than this unit and has that as a monthly Dokkan Fest. You know what I mean? And then he is also getting 17% attack and defense with each attack evaded, just like the manga Frieza kind of does. I think that is going to compound really nicely with the rest of both Piccolo and the 17's kit. And then for the 17's active skill here, I gave him the typical the team buffing tag active skill. He's going to buff the Bond of Master and Disciple and Android Cell Saga categories, giving them 17% attack and defense and 2 key for the rest of the fight. Actually, probably 1 key. Let's do 1 key. 1 key is a little bit better. That's what Kale and Caulifla do. They give 1 key. And then he's just going to do a little bit of damage. His active skill is going to do significantly less damage than Piccolo's, because Piccolo is getting the massive 200% attack on it, and he already is critting at the start of turn, and he super victims all types. He is going to build up crit. Right, the stats should transfer over, but the crit is just for Piccolo. Right, keep that in mind. Right, so Piccolo will build up to 100% crit and have these stats, but only the stats are going to transfer over into 17, who's then going to be able to build up as well and have 2 different kinds of build up. So like in an event where, say it's like the GDC fight, on turn 3, you're probably going to want to be in 17 for the most part, because he is a dodging Ki Blast nullification character. And then in a fight where you need more damage, you're going to probably want Piccolo out, because he's going to be able to give 2-turn support if you need it. He's going to be doing significantly higher damage because he is doing multiple super attacks in a turn, all of which are giving him 100% attack. He is just going to be hitting significantly harder than 17, who is on the more defensive side. So I think it's a pretty cool character. I'd imagine the art would be like this scene right here, where they're both gearing up against First Form Cell. And then in a celebration like this, do keep in mind that we are going to get a Carnival LR potentially related to this. So in theory, we would get then a Carnival LR Cell. First Form Cell will go with this, who could potentially lead, like, I don't know, the Android Cell Saga team or something, to have this character on there. Right? I think it'd be cool. Right? I think this is a unit that, like, I would have preferred them to be like a dual Dokkan Fest. Like, you could literally split up both of these passives and make it a dual Dokkan Fest, and I would be like, I probably wouldn't really change much of anything at all. Right? So I think it's really good. I think it's cool. I'd like to see what they do with this Piccolo, because it's probably a Piccolo, right? Looking at this, I can only think of Hellzone Grenade Piccolo. I've seen some people say Kefla. I've seen some people say Spirit Bomb. I don't see this being anything other than Hellzone Grenade Piccolo. So I'm hoping that's what it is. Let me know what you guys think about the concept in the comments down below. Let me know what you guys think this Dokkan Fest is. That's going to be it for today, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.